The movie begins in the town of Queens, New York City. Peter woke up from bed and on discovering he's already late, he quickly got his things ready for school. Before he left, May gave him his oatmeal he forgot, after which he passionately hugged her, then scurried outside in bid to catch the school bus. But as usual he missed the bus yet again. He was bemoaned on discovering this, and it was at this moment an idea popped in his head. Not what you were expecting though. May picked him up few minutes later on her way to work, as she'd hate for him to be late on his first day in school. On their way she inquired how he felt about his new school, and he was pretty excited as Midtown's robotics program is one of the best in the country. He also felt it'd be a necessary distraction, putting into consideration all that has been going on after Uncle Ben's death. Not long after, May gave Peter a deep-rooted hug before dropping him off at his new school. It was a new dawn in Peter's life, as he's about to begin college in a reputable school. As he was admiring the magnanimity of the school and its environs, a gigantic orbit hole emerged in the sky, right on top of the school, and on short notice, an alienated creature fell down from the green hole. The creature was about to harm an innocent student, but Dr. Strange came to his rescue. It was a magical face-off. They fought for quite a while, destroying the school from inside out, and while all these was happening, a spider slowly dropped down from the hole. Strange deflected the creature's attacks using the impenetrable shield of Seraphim, and this spell was messing with the center of gravity. The alien carried out a rampage on the school, destroying everything within its sight and reach. On spur of moment, it sighted a girl laying helplessly, but as it was about to devour her, Peter came to her rescue by distracting it with a book. Before the alien could get a hold of Peter, Dr. Strange held it back with his magic, spontaneously carrying it back where it came from, but the spider didn't go back with them as it fell directly on Peter's shoulders. Peter's first day at school was loaded with drama, as due to the intensity of the battle, half of the school was left in ruin. Peter was about to get acquainted with Nico, but his moment was ruined, as the spider bit him gruesomely at his neck. Not long after the bite he started feeling extremely dizzy and he fainted afterwards. May saw him fall down so she rushed to his corner to ensure he's safe. Few months later, Peter had already developed some spider-like abilities, but as he was running to make it to school on time, he was ran over by a taxi. Because of this incident he ended up missing his school bus yet again, so he decided to initiate Plan B. With his newly sewed spider suit that also has a gas tank attached to it, he was able to defy gravity using his spider webs, and after a short while of swinging he got past the school bus he missed earlier on. Just when Peter thought he'd make it to school on time, he heard a guy screaming for help with thugs chasing after him. He was almost ran over by a moving truck, but guess what? Spider-Man came to his rescue. He was in the process of expressing his gratitude to the young hero, but then they were imminently cornered by the muggers. Steven, one of the thugs, brought out his phone to capture this whole scenario on live, not knowing they were in for a hell of a ride. Few minutes later, one of the thugs rushed at Peter with a brick, but he took him down effortlessly, which annoyed the rest of the muggers. Without much skill and effort, Spider-Man was able to take down the criminals. He took their phone, which was still on live, insisting their viewers call the police attention to them for immediate arrest. Then he left them hanging atop a light pole. Harry attempted showing gratitude by making an instant transfer, but Peter rejected the offer, insisting he considers it a good deed from his friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. Peter figured he was already late for school, so he scurried back to school. Few minutes later, he sneaked his way back into lectures, but the teacher noticed almost immediately, and requires he sees her after class. Nico startled Peter by his locker side, and as he was about leaving he bumped into two students. He instantly picked a keen liking to one of them named Pearl, and this made him ridiculously nervous. He was devastated as he fumbled an opportunity with his childhood crush. He feels she still thinks him as a kid, because she was previously his babysitter and they stayed in the same apartment, but Nico was able to convince him otherwise. She suggested he asks her out and make his feelings known, and Peter felt it was a really great idea, but was still indecisive on the right time to approach her. During lectures, Peter sighted a police car in a heated chase, so he asked permission from Mr. Campbell, his teacher, to use the restroom. Already transformed into his spider suit, Peter used his web to firstly acquire their plate number, and by this time the criminal driving the van had already passed out, so his significant other took control of the wheel, ramming them onto a tour bus, but Spider-Man was there to keep them from falling. After this incident, Peter was clouded with paparazzi, and the police arrived at the scene on short notice. He was really feeling himself, but he took off so as to get back to school on time. On getting back, he garnered momentum and bid to ask out the girl of his dreams, but Nico stopped him almost immediately, showing him he was already too late, which left him in a discombobulated state. Peter was in an awful state on discovering Pearl is now out of reach, and her whole shenanigans with Lincoln was drowning out the caterwauls of his heart. Not long after, they were besieged by Mr. Taylor, who suggested they'll be splitting into pairs for some upcoming projects, and he allowed them the freedom to pair as they see fit. Peter felt this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to ask Pearl to be his lab partner, but before he knew it, Lonnie Lincoln asked to be his partner to his utmost surprise. According to Lincoln, the whole reason he wanted to partner with him was because Pearl said he was smart, which made Peter overwhelmed with the fact that she thinks highly of him. After school, Lonnie kissed Pearl goodbye, and this scenario was disheartening for Peter. Lonnie wasn't all that cool as the entirety of the school thought him to be, as due to his looks, he was always a suspect for the cops. On the other hand, Peter returned money to a pizza salesman that was stolen from him not long ago, and due to the criminal's pure and unfiltered remorse, they both decided to let her go instead of handing her over to the cops. Touching indeed. In display of gratitude, the salesman granted him a free pizza for his voluntary work to the city. After he changed back to his regular clothes, he also saw a DVD player in the trash, so he took it home with him. To him, it was like the best day in his life as he received 2 free items. On getting home, Norman Osborn was seated waiting for him, and it was at this moment they officially met each other for the first time. Norman introduced himself to Peter and they got formally acquainted. According to Norman, he has been doing research at the local schools, taking a look at available academic records, and he was very impressed when he found Peter's at Bales High. Peter was astounded as he got recognized by one of the biggest names in NYC, and on spur of moment, Norman offered him an exclusive internship to work with him at Oscorp. Peter was all in his feelings on hearing this, and he accepted the job wholeheartedly. Before Norman left, he informed Peter to meet him up at the Oscorp Towers by 4 o'clock, so he can be properly welcomed, then he left. May Scully hugged Peter passionately afterwards, and they jointly celebrated the good news. The next day, as usual, Peter took down a stalker who was watching a lady input her alarm passkey from a distance, after which he stylishly made his way back to school grounds. Not long after, he arrived at Bales High, and on getting to the hallway he met with Lonnie and his guys celebrating their newly won trophy. After Peter got acquainted with Lincoln's teammates, he joined them in their celebration, but their moment of joy was cut short by Mrs. Elberhardt. During the football game, Peter and Nico conversed about his newly found gig at the Oscorp Towers, although she warned him to be careful as people who are that rich scares her. Pearl also joined them in the conversation, congratulating Peter for pitching a job under the wings of Norman Osborn. Lonnie's team eventually won the game, and it was at this moment Peter headed out for work. On getting to the tower, he was told he's already late as he was supposed to be here 15 minutes ago, but he was still allowed to be signed in regardless, after which he was asked to report directly to the lab, instead of a meet with Osborn as he thought. On getting to the lab, he got acquainted with his fellow young scholars present there, who were from different distinct parts of the world. Instantaneously, they were besieged by Dr. Whitman, who was to oversee them for the day. Not wasting any much time, he pitted all of them with tasks there to solve within a given frame time. According to Whitman, how they perform at these basic functions would determine what division of Oscorp their intellect would be best applied to. After a quick assessment, he assigned them to the divisions they best fit in, excepting Peter, who was left behind. Peter was imminently pitched with Dr. Connors, who was with Oscorp's Energy Research Division. He was very grateful she ended up picking him, then not long after they started working on some core concepts together. After long hours of work, Connors gave Peter a 15-minute break for recess, and he used that time to get up to speed with school activities through Nico. Before she ended the call, she told him about a party they got invited to, insisting she won't go there without him, so he told her to ping him the address with the assurance that he'll show up. Peter rekindled with the rest of the scholars before he left, and it was then he heard about an urban blaze raging from the local news. Peter figured the scenery of the fire wasn't far off from his present location, so after giving them an utterly flimsy excuse in a weird way, he geared up in his spider suit and headed out. He arrived there shortly, but didn't know Butane was the villain he had to go head-on with. On discovering Butane was the sole cause of the fire, he engaged him in a heated battle. After having it out for quite a while, Spiderman knocked him out of the window onto the next building. Peter got distracted for a while as he was trying to save a puppy, but after getting the dog to safety, he knocked him over with an aquarium, then he slammed him to the floor instantly. After the fight, Peter got a message from Connors, who was asking for his whereabouts. On short notice, Peter bursted inside the lab breathing profusely, after which he was reprimanded by Dr. Whitman for straying away from his duties, but Connors was able to calm him down. Not long after, one of the guards informed Peter that Osborn wants to have a word with him, and this call left the rest of his colleagues astounded, as they felt it was a bad omen, so they all gave him a speech about not forgetting him. Nico was utterly disappointed Peter didn't show up for the party, so she left the place devastated. Unlike what the rest of the scholars thought, Osborn wasn't about to fire him, rather he showed him a footage he captured of him suiting to be Spider-Man. We now come to the conclusion of the first phase of this series. Please follow this channel if you like recaps like this. Thanks for watching, please like and comment. Thank you.